Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. This week we're back with another reason why these overlooked and underappreciated ecosystems are objectively the best biome. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Nicole. And today we're going to talk about another really fun parasite. We're going to talk about ticks.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited.
Disgusting.
Thank you. It's our last spooky episode, so I had to just go for it, because ticks are gross. Let's be real.
Yeah, they're actually the worst. Also, who says that spooky season has to end just because October does?
That is valid.
Spooky season can just live on with us every day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
In our hearts, in our souls, in our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Not every episode, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. It's not going to be the last, gross thing we talk about, for sure. So if that's what you were expecting, dear listener, I am so sorry.
Never done talking about gross stuff around here. Do we want to give an update on the Belleville Prairie Bowl?
Yeah. Bell Bowl Prairie.
Bowl. Oh, yes. My goodness. The Bell Bowl Prairie.
Yeah. So the Bell Bowl Prairie, as of this morning, October 27th, actually has some pretty big support. So there was a lawsuit filed against not only the airport, but also Fish and Wildlife Service. And they are demanding that there be a halt on all construction until spring so they can do more surveys in order to find out just what plants and animals are using this prairie and to try to save it. So that would be a huge win. Doesn't mean that we should stay quiet if they do end up halting construction until then. We still need to stay on them and keep yelling so that they know that the public is mad and that the public wants this prairie. So definitely, we still have a few more days, at least until Monday. Construction is for sure stopped, but we have a few more days. Please, if you have not visited savebellbowlprairie.org, do that and send an email, give a call, all that good stuff. Make your voice heard.
Yeah. Cool. Well, okay, I'm prepared for ticks. I'm always prepared for ticks.
Yeah.
When I go outside, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of course.
Oh, do you want to tell us how you prepare for ticks when you're outside?
No, that's boring as hell. Tell me what you want to tell us about ticks.
No, it's important. That is part of my notes for this episode, so thanks for saying that it's boring. I really appreciate it.
Put on bug spray.
What kind of bug spray?
DEET?
DEET works kind of, but permethrin has been shown to work way better, and a lot of people don't realize that. So I just stuck out my tongue at Rachel. But no, yeah, permethrin is the best spray that you can use. The best way to use it is going to be to actually treat your clothes beforehand, and then once your clothes are completely dry, that's when you can wear them. You don't want permethrin on your skin when it's still wet, but that is going to be the best way to avoid ticks. If that's all you needed from this episode, you're welcome, but you should stick around because there's some good facts coming.
Great.
So I wanted to go a little bit about the basics of ticks, how they work, how do they feed, that kind of thing. But then also going into some of the pathogens that they can spread, and just, some Q&A stuff. A lot of questions. We kind of hear the same questions a lot of the times as environmental educators. I just want to make sure that people know what they can do to keep themselves, their family, and, their pets safe. So let's dive on in. Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea how many species of ticks there are in the world?
Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. Far too many, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's over 900 different species of ticks.
I don't like knowing this. Cool.
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew there was a few, but I did not think it was in the hundreds and hundreds. And most of those don't pose any risk to humans, so they're just not talked about a lot.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's 15 species in the US that can transmit diseases to humans. So the ones that are a little bit more important are lower, but fascinating that there's almost 900 of them. Did you know that ticks also exist on every continent?
No.
Even Antarctica.
No. Like wild populations? Are they introduced?
No.
Oh, no. They just go on animals.
Yeah.
Okay. Golly, that sucks. I hate it. Thanks.
Even the penguins aren't safe.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so there's these Antarctic ticks that I had no idea existed until I did some research for this podcast. And yeah, they love seabirds, especially penguins. They hitch a ride on the seabirds and are transmitted around the world that way. So that's pretty fun. And this particular species, it's Ixodes uri, I think, maybe, is actually found in the Antarctic, but also the Arctic Circle.
That makes sense.
So yeah, pretty impressive. And it has the widest range of any known tick because of that.
Well, let's not give the ticks too much praise because they're definitely just hitchhiking on the backs of Arctic terns or something that are, very well traveled and actually worthy of our praise, unlike the ticks that are just kind of hitchhiking.
I mean, okay, but also this tick can survive really ridiculous temperatures that don't make any sense for them to be able to survive. They can survive temps as low as negative 30 degrees Celsius, negative 22 Fahrenheit, and as high as positive 40 degrees Celsius, 104 Fahrenheit.
That's too big of a range.
So ticks are just like master survivors. And like, I knew that to an extent before doing this research, but now it's just even more mind-blowing and a little bit unnerving.
A little bit, yeah. Did you see that TikTok of the centrifuging ticks before or after you started the research for this podcast?
Before. It inspired me.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah. Apparently tick researchers, when they gather ticks to bring into the lab, they have to clean them first. And
live ticks.
Yeah, live ticks. They clean these live ticks in like ethanol and water and bleach. And it's not just like a quick dunk. Like they pour them into these and then put them in a centrifuge and spin them around super fast. And they're just fine afterwards. They take them out, dump them into a new like little enclosure, and they just like crawl around and act like nothing happened.
They don't even appear dizzy or anything. And it's disturbing.
It's disturbing but amazing. I'm so impressed by them.
Okay.
Rachel is not impressed by them.
Put them in the dryer, they say. Oh, just run the dryer. That'll kill them for sure.
Hey, dryers reach over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so.
Well, you said they could survive over 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
They reach over 104. It's fine.
Okay. Anyway, tell us more about how undestroyable ticks are.
Okay, gladly. Not only are they really good at surviving really cold temps and really hot temps, they're also really good at not drying out. They can avoid desiccation by simply hiding under rocks, but also if they lose, like I saw a couple studies said they lose like 30, 40, 50% of their weight in water, they're just fine. They don't care. Everything's fine. Yeah.
Are they basing all this on like ticks that haven't just had a blood meal, right?
Yeah.
Like in their normal state?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. And those blood meals, they tend to only have one meal in an entire year, especially like these Antarctic ones where they're feeding on penguins that are really only active for like a couple months. So they have to get all their feeding done in that time frame. And then they just hide under a rock and hope for the best.
I hate it.
It's amazing. It really is.
Insects are going to be just fine when we destroy the world.
I mean,
as we continue destroying the world.
Yeah, but also, they're not insects. They're arachnids.
Arthropods are going to be so. But yeah, that's a good point, because they do look very spidery, and that's not an accident.
Yes. They got 8 legs, only 2 body segments. They are not insects.
They have just 2 body segments?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have 1?
I know.
How does a tick have 2 body segments?
Let me make sure.
Boo-boo, she's gonna say, well, they're not an insect, so I don't know about them as much.
Ticks have 2 body parts,
no!
Just like spiders.
I hate it. Wait, so they have a head?
Yeah.
Weird.
That's where all the mouthpieces are, and they have some wacky mouthpieces, let me tell you.
Oh, God.
So if you've never seen a video of like, usually it's like an animation, but if you've never seen like a video of ticks feeding,
I haven't.
I recommend looking it up, but I also don't if this is like a fear of yours and ticks are, maybe just don't look it up, but I'll describe it for you anyways. Skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. So they have their mouth parts are very, very unique. They have like two outside pieces that are like little saws, and they slowly saw into your skin, and it kind of pushes the skin away so that their main straw-like mouth part can then pierce into your skin and suck up all your blood.
That's really interesting. Okay. Yeah. Disturbing. Impressive. Mm-hmm. What more can I say?
Yeah. And it's even more complicated than that, because a tick's saliva is extremely unique.
Let me guess. Anticoagulants.
Yes.
Antibiotics, microbial stuff, but not enough to make you not get diseases because they suck. Pain numbing. What else would a thing like this have? That's all my guesses.
Those are all very good guesses. Yes, antihistamines. Can't forget those. Yeah, their saliva is... There's over like 4,000 different proteins that we have identified in tick saliva. And a lot of them are kind of doing the same things and kind of interchangeable. But it's really helpful to have all of these different kinds because it means that they can feed on a wide variety of different prey items. And it also means that, when they first bite you, they are sending a bunch of different proteins into your body. And before your body can start to react to those proteins, they will actually change the cocktail and use different proteins and enzymes to trick your body, and so that you can never actually mount a defense against them.
Fascinating. Whoa, yeah. That makes sense because they have to stay latched on so long. It's like a mosquito where they just like suck and run.
Correct, yeah. Most ticks will take, 3 days, even up to a week attached to their host before they get a full blood meal. So they have to remain undetected and attached that entire time. Yeah. It's crazy. They actually, which I've known about this for a little bit, but I had never, it makes me a little, so I never really looked into it super deep until now. But when they bite you, they're, doing all these different things. They're making sure that it's not going to itch. They're making sure it doesn't hurt. And they're making sure that your blood is not going to clot so that they can drink it easier. And all of these different things together, they are also making like a pool of blood underneath your skin. They actually, the enzymes in their spit will break down like this, the skin, and make a little cavity that they are drinking from.
Is that why I often get bruises from tick bites?
Probably.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's gnarly. It's so gross. Like they just make a little feeding cavity underneath the surface of your skin and just slurp it all up.
Nicole's laughing at me because I'm making a lot of faces.
It's true.
I'm just throwing that out there because she probably sounds like she's losing her mind.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but yeah.
Ooh, that's really cool though.
Is it? Is it
I
cool?
guess. I mean, yeah, you can't say it's not cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's some really cool adaptations that allow it to do exactly what it needs to do and do it in a, unique way.
Yes. And the fact that they like change up the cocktail like as they feed so that you literally have no chance at mounting like an immune response to them is just mind-blowing. Like, what? Yeah. Wild. And something else that I found, admittedly, I think this was like 2007-ish, but they mentioned that we only know what about 5% of those different enzymes do. The rest are a total mystery. So, yeah. Wild.
Do all of those proteins originate from the tick?
Yes, they are ones that the tick are making. Yeah.
I'm just naturally trying to figure out, like, where in some ticks that spread alpha galactose around and give people reactions to that. Is that something that's just in the saliva because it's left over from a feeding? Or is it something being produced? You know, like obviously there's stuff that gets left in them that from feedings that gets transmitted.
Yeah.
So not everything they're spitting into you is going to be coming from the tick.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about pathogens, don't you worry.
Okay.
But I just have one more little thing. You know, how are they finding their hosts?
That's a great question.
Yeah, this is something that I feel like a lot of people like kind of know the answer to, but don't know the full story. So ticks are able to detect like really, really well through a sense of smell. They also can detect heat and vibrations extremely, extremely well. And they can even track by picking up carbon dioxide in the air. So that's the stuff that you're breathing out. And so most tick species will do a sort of searching behavior or questing behavior where they climb up a plant and just kind of wave their little arms around. Like if it wasn't so creepy, it would be kind of cute. And they just wave their little arms around because like they know they're at the top of a plant and they can smell that there's animals nearby, and they just wait for you to walk into them. They aren't dropping out of trees. They aren't, I don't know, a bunch of other things that people think that ticks do. They just kind of sit and wait. Some species are a little bit more mobile than others, but most of them are just gonna sit there and wait for something to walk by and brush up against them. They have fun little claws at the end of their arms to grab onto you.
Are they fun little claws?
Yeah.
Why are they so fun?
They're just cool looking.
Are they like a single claw or are they like a pincy claw?
I think it's like I saw a video, it was very disturbing, but it was just like, it was like it had a little finger and it just would like just kind of fold over on itself, and like it's just ting, ting, ting. Like it was big, like comparative to like the size of the tick. Like
sure.
It was a big claw.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Ew. Can we just take a minute to appreciate that it's called questing? It's like a little young, precocious tick going out in the world, like, it's time for my first quest.
Yes.
Instead of like slaying a dragon or something. They're just crawling up some backpacker's leg to suck them full of blood.
Yes. There was one time I was searching for monarch caterpillars on milkweed, and I was like bent down looking at the underside of the leaves because that's where they tend to be. And I saw a tick like an inch from my face doing its little questing behavior. And I was like, ooh.
He almost got you.
Oh, it was so disturbing.
That's so cool. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I have. You need to look for caterpillars and bugs more often.
I'm conflicted about that now. But sure, yeah, totally should.
I mean, if you see them, then you can avoid them. So
yeah. But maybe it's better to not know that they're there.
Maybe. It's kind of like spider sniffing if you're scared of spiders. Like
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was at least some of the pathogens that they can spread and how they are spreading and how to avoid them. There's a lot of different tick-borne diseases, like a lot. Some of them are bacteria-based, some of them are virus-based. And like I said, not all of them affect humans, even if they might affect animals. Or they affect humans less and animals more, or vice versa. I just think it's like whenever you have like a parasite of a parasite of a parasite, I just think that's really fascinating. And so the ticks. Oh,
sorry, no, I just got excited because I didn't realize they were parasites of the parasite.
Yeah,
or
okay. Essentially, like, can a bacteria be a parasite? I don't know, but like
that's a great question.
Yeah, it's just. Like, it's not like the tick naturally has this in them. Like, it's being picked up from somewhere and then being transmitted through the tick. So, rats didn't cause the bubonic plague. They just happened to be a vector.
Yeah.
And ticks actually were the main vector and we're spreading it. Ticks and fleas. So, barely even the rat's fault, but they still get the fall.
It's mostly fleas in that case.
Yeah.
I had not considered the implication of ticks.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, okay, great.
Yes. But yeah, ticks are really good at spreading diseases, unfortunately. And it's going, whenever they pick it up, usually a lot of times actually from a mouse, which things like deer tick, we tend to think of like the black-legged tick that causes Lyme disease. They tend to pick up that disease not from deer that they are named after, but actually from mice, which is strange. It doesn't mean that a deer can't have Lyme disease. It's just that it's more prevalent in mice and then is picked up by ticks feeding on mice.
Sure.
Then that tick goes and bites someone else and it will spread the disease. What's nice is that even though, like in the Northeast, I think like 1 in 3 ticks in the Northeast will carry Lyme disease, which is absurdly high.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
As long as you find a tick that is latched onto you fairly quickly, like within 24 hours, you're usually okay. It takes a long time of it feeding on you for that disease to be passed on, whether it's a bacteria or a virus. And sometimes it can take days. So as long as that tick is not like engorged and just like super plump and like not Jolly Rancher, Gusher, Gusher size on you.
Different and so much worse. Okay, thanks for that.
You're welcome. Then you're probably fine. But it's always good to keep a tick just in case. If you are in a place where tick diseases are very prevalent and you get bit by a tick, save the tick either in a jar or even on like a piece of like tape, because it'll be helpful for IDing it to know what kind of diseases it can carry, since different species carry different diseases. But also you can test ticks sometimes in order to see if it is infected with anything. So I think for the most part, most places are not asking people to send in ticks anymore, just because it's a very time and money involved process. And most of the ticks that they were getting didn't have anything useful. So
okay. So don't save your ticks.
You can save your ticks if you get sick. It's helpful to know what the species is and if it carries something. But you don't want to just like send your ticks off to the lab. It tends to be a waste of money.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So save your ticks, but you don't need to send every single one that you get somewhere. And for someone like me who does a lot of hiking and gets hundreds of ticks every year, there's just no way.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know like which tick actually gave you the disease, or if you even found the one that did. Even if you check all your crevices all the time.
Yes. But yeah. And something really fascinating to me about this whole, them being a vector, is that when a tick is infected with the disease, sometimes that will actually make it act differently.
Give an example. Are we talking like a bacterial disease or a virus? Okay.
Yeah. So there are some pathogens that ticks can pick up that will actually increase the tick's ability to feed by increasing the antihistamine properties in the tick's spit. So, yeah, wild. Others will change its behavior and make that tick more active and more likely to climb up, pieces of grass and bushes and stuff and do that questing behavior. So it's kind of like toxoplasmosis in mice and like making them stand out in the open so they get eaten by a cat. Right. Or the fungus that makes snails climb to the top of reeds to get eaten by birds, or the ones that, infect ants and have them, go out in the open to spread their spores. Like, it's like a sort of mind control that these pathogens are, putting on these ticks.
It might. Oh, well, I guess it's the questing behavior. Yeah. So I was thinking about the antihistamine one, but yeah, that's really interesting. Are those diseases things that like require ticks as vectors?
Yes.
So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it wants the tick to bite something so that it can spread onto a new host, which is crazy. I had no idea that was part of the story. I've never heard that before.
No, me either. Fascinating. They can not just hitchhike on them, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? Hijack.
Ooh, yes.
Hijack them.
Yes.
But everybody's getting what they want out of it, so I guess it works.
Yeah. Yeah, and I couldn't find anything about like any negative implications to the tick being infected, other than maybe if it's moving around a lot, it might dry out a little bit more because it's not spending time in cover and things like that. But yeah, it's pretty beneficial to both parties, like you said.
It's so fun to think about like bacteria and viruses and stuff as like living organisms. I think we have such a tendency to relegate them to their diseases that they produce that it sometimes, I forget that they're a living organism that has like needs and wants as much as a bacteria can want something. And biological processes outside of their diseases.
Yeah. So, yeah. Super cool.
They should, well, I guess for them, they've picked a great partner.
Yes.
I was going to be denigrating toward ticks, but, I guess it works out. So.
Yeah. So I wanted to highlight a couple of the different diseases that ticks can carry. This is not by any means a comprehensive list, and I highly recommend everyone do their own research just so that you're familiar with some of the symptoms and so that you can seek medical help if needed. But we'll also talk about, even though these sound kind of scary, why you don't need to worry too much and it should not hinder your experiences while you are outside. So the first one I wanted to talk about is tick-borne encephalitis. So this is a big one throughout Europe and Asia. It is fairly common, but it is mainly a woodland disease. But it presents with muscle ache, fatigue, fever, which is pretty common for all of our tick-borne diseases and like the flu and a lot of different illnesses that people can have. But it can also get to a point where it's extremely severe. And it affects the lining of your brain and spinal cord and causes inflammation. So not a good thing. Other words for this would be meningitis or encephalitis. So it can actually cause swelling of the brain, which is not a good thing. And if it's not caught early, can absolutely be fatal or cause some pretty severe long-term effects. There are some Far East Asia variants of the disease that can have mortality rates of up to 35%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's not a good one. It is extremely dangerous, but again, as long as you are paying attention to your body and taking preventative measures while you're outside, which we will talk about, then you should be okay. The next one I wanted to talk about is African tick bite fever. Obviously very prevalent in Africa, hence its name, and especially in South Africa. In some communities, I found one paper that said that a healthy control group of this community had antibodies present in 92% of the population.
Goodness, everybody's been exposed to it.
Yeah, so
Wow.
literally just about everyone has it. And these weren't they weren't showing any symptoms. They just tested everyone just to see how prevalent it was. And it's perfectly possible that the other 8% just hadn't had it in a while, so they didn't have antibodies in their body. So it is extremely common. And it is usually fairly mild, but with people that are immunocompromised or older in age, it has some kind of interesting side effects. We have the fever, headaches, and rash, like a lot of different diseases. But there's also really strange skin lesions that people will get right at the bite mark, even in healthy people. They get these red, just nasty looking skin lesions. And often people report having nightmares.
What? That's weird.
Yeah.
Is that like a fever symptom or weird?
I don't know. It wasn't mentioned in literally any of the other tick-borne diseases that I looked at. But for some reason, tick bite fever, specifically, people mentioned having terrible nightmares on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah. It's very strange. But yeah. And it can lead to brain swelling, coma, gangrene, and even kidney and liver failure. So it can be, again, extremely dangerous for immunocompromised people. But considering 92% of this community had it and probably didn't even know, it's not usually fatal or dangerous. So.
Sure.
But I was extremely surprised at how prevalent it was because I couldn't find anything like that for these other diseases.
Yeah, that's wild. Is that a virus or a bacteria?
This one I believe is a virus, but I did not write it down.
Wild. Dude, there was it's wild to me how common these tick-borne diseases are in other places and stuff. I guess, are these only affecting people? Do they affect animals too, or?
From what I saw, I mean, it can affect animals like livestock and stuff like that. But the cases in people are going to be more often reported. So those are the ones that are focused on a lot of the times.
Yeah. You awakened a memory of a vet show I'd watched, which was actually in Australia, not England. I was like, it's one of those places that's been related to England at some point. But they had a dog come in at the vet clinic that had like tick paralysis. And there's like a paralyzing tick in Australia that's really common. And I don't know if that can affect humans, or I think maybe humans just catch the ticks faster, so it doesn't really affect them as much. But like when it's been latched onto a pet for a long time, it gets enough of the toxin in it that it like just paralyzes them, and stuff like that is absolutely horrifying to me. Like, I thought we had it bad in the US, but there's so much out there.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Oof. Yeah.
I don't know why I have it in my head that ticks are such like an American issue to deal with.
Well, it's fascinating because like when I was doing the research for this podcast, and especially this disease portion, like, okay, yeah, ticks live on all continents, but what are they doing in other continents? It's the algorithm or the CDC or I don't know who, but like whenever you search for this stuff, you only find stuff related to like American ticks and American tick diseases. Like, it's really hard to find stuff on what's going on in the rest of the world. It's very strange.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I literally, for like the tick-borne encephalitis, I was on the European Center for Disease Control website. Wow. So like, that's the only way I could find out like what diseases they had over there was to go on like, you know, a big website like that. So, which it was a cool website. Their fact sheets were very good.
Yeah.
The CDC has good ones too, but yeah.
Well, CDC can still learn new stuff. Take notes, CDC.
Yes.
Maybe we should fund our institutions better. I don't know, just an idea.
Just an idea. But speaking of American ticks and the CDC,
let's go.
I pulled out a couple American diseases just because I feel like these are ones, again, people probably know about, but maybe not how serious they can be. For instance, Lyme disease, I feel like is, unless you have either had it or know someone that does, I feel like Lyme disease is almost like a joke. Like, people do not take it seriously at all. And it's like, oh, you're going to get Lyme disease. Watch out for the bullseye rash. And like, I'm glad that people know that you can sometimes get a bullseye rash, but people also don't know that that's maybe 20% of cases. And so just waiting for a bullseye rash is not a good way to do it. Because if left untreated, Lyme disease can stay with you for the rest of your life, and it can cause really severe arthritis and just really not good things. Heart palpitations, weakness and fatigue that lasts for years. It's a very serious disease, and like I said, 1 in 3 ticks in the Northeast carry Lyme disease, so it's also very prevalent depending on where you live. Other parts of the U.S. barely have it or don't have it at all, but if you live in the Northeast, you should be reading up on Lyme disease and take it seriously. One that is a little bit more common in the Midwest is going to be Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And this one has a fairly high mortality rate if it is not caught quickly. And it's one of those that is kind of interesting because it has a really quick incubation period of only like 3 days, and then you start showing symptoms. And then once you start showing symptoms, you have about 5 days to get to the hospital, or you have a high chance of liver or kidney failure.
That's wild.
Yeah. I have a friend that I did field research with. Hey, Melissa. And she almost died in the hospital because we were out in the middle of nowhere, and she had a fever and she wasn't feeling good. She actually kept working one of the days that she wasn't feeling good. And she stayed at the hotel the next, I think, just one day. She stayed at the hotel, and she ended up getting rushed to the ER and stayed there for like a week because her organs were failing. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like she almost died. And I mean, she went from perfectly fine out in the field doing, 5 miles of field work to in the hospital within a week. Like,
That's crazy.
yeah.
What sorts of symptoms would make you want to seek out treatment or like make you go to a hospital finally? Like, is it just like a super high fever or?
Yeah. Fever, difficulty breathing, things like that. It has a lot of the same symptoms as some of these other ones, unfortunately. And then, yeah. And then all of a sudden you might be having a necrotic limb that needs to be, amputated, or your kidneys failing. So,
Thank you. No, thank you.
yeah, it's gnarly. So if you live somewhere where Rocky Mountain spotted fever is common, you need to know more about it. And it is spread only through the American and the brown dog ticks. So if you are out and about and you find a dog tick on you and it's engorged, keep an eye out. And if you start getting a fever, you need to go to the hospital, and you need to tell them that you know exactly what kind of tick it was or have it with you. So that's when saving the tick can be really helpful, especially because sometimes doctors don't want to believe that you know what is happening to your own body. So if you save the tick and you show them, like, this is a dog tick, it was on me, like, and now, 4 days later, I have a fever, like, that, there's a high chance that it is Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So.
Wow. Was that in Kansas?
It is in Kansas. Yeah. My friend got sick in Kansas. I think we were in Western Kansas.
Okay.
Over 60% of Rocky Mountain spotted fever cases come from North Carolina, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Missouri.
Rocky Mountain spotted fever, though.
I know. The name is a misnomer. And again, so it's important to actually know more about this.
Yeah, I had no idea you get it in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Hell.
Yep.
That's making me irrationally angry.
As it should.
I'm so... that's maddening. Who did this to us? Who do we have to beat up? Anyway,
I don't know.
No, please continue.
But yeah, so it's interesting that, over 60% of the cases are from those 5 states that are nowhere near the Rocky Mountains, but it is what it is. The last one I wanted to talk about is one that is near to Rachel's heart.
Don't even. Yeah, no.
It's alpha-gal syndrome.
Which is not a disease.
Yes.
I am diseased with it.
Oh, God. Would you like to tell the audience your experiences with alpha-gal?
I'll just tell you it's the red meat allergy.
Yeah.
So it's an allergy. It's an allergy to the alpha-galactose protein, which is a carbohydrate. So it's present in the mostly fat tissues, but like in the muscles, the bodies of the blood of mammals, with like the only exception I know of being a certain branch of African primates that includes humans. So you could probably eat certain apes. You can also eat your friends.
Yes.
Wouldn't
and like
recommend
chicken.
Yeah. As far as mammals go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just gotta eat things with fins and feathers if you're eating meat.
Yeah. It's pretty gnarly. And so it has a lot of the same symptoms as we would expect from an allergic reaction, but it can be pretty serious if you don't recognize that it's the meat that is giving you that reaction, to the point where people can develop anaphylactic shock and then their organs stop working. So yeah, not great.
Yeah, it is really hard to catch because unlike most food allergies, your system takes a while to break down the food enough to have an allergic reaction to it. So like you're not just putting it on your tongue and then your tongue swells up.
Yeah.
You have to digest it, and then like sometimes 3 to 6 hours later you have an allergic reaction. So the most common story I see is people waking up like around midnight after eating like a steak for dinner and just being woken up in the middle of the night to an allergic reaction that is sometimes life-threatening. And at that point, it's like, what the hell caused this? Like you're not thinking, oh, it was the steak I ate 6 hours ago. So it can be kind of hard to catch.
Yeah, for sure. Scary.
Yeah.
Ticks. to say the least, are a little bit of a health hazard to humans and animals. But we do have some really cool science to help us out.
That was such a, like, I don't know. I just got reading Rainbow vibes from that or something. I don't know what just happened in my brain, but it felt like a 90s infomercial on like VHS scratches.
Yes.
Oh, we got some pretty cool science to help us out.
You know what?
Like, what cool science, Nicole? Tell us more.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Gosh dang it. So, for example, we have one vaccine.
For what?
Oh, good question. I forgot. It's a European one. Which one's the European one?
Oh, the encephalitis.
Yes. Tick-borne encephalitis.
Aw,
I forgot to scroll through my notes. So tick-borne encephalitis does have a vaccine that was approved by the CDC like this year. And so it's obviously not super helpful for people that don't live in Europe or Asia, but it's also giving us some really cool insight into how to develop vaccines for other tick-borne diseases.
Yeah.
And there's some other, like this one is specifically for the disease, but there's some really cool like pseudo vaccines, I guess, that would actually be targeting the tick itself.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Whoa. Anti-tick vaccine?
Anti-tick
Shoot me
vaccine.
up. Let's go.
Right? I'm ready. So the easiest way would be to one that targets the proteins in the spit of the tick. So if
Which
you...
ones? Sorry, no.
Of all of them. No, all 4,000. You need just a couple vaccines to get all 4,000 proteins primed. But it's a really cool idea in that if you have a vaccine and you have this defense already, ready to go, whenever your body detects those proteins that the tick is ingesting into you, your body won't be like, oh, nothing's happening. It's going to be like, oh, and it's going to be ready to go. And it won't be tricked by all of those, anti-inflammatory, all those immune suppressing enzymes that the tick is trying to trick you with.
Gotcha. So basically you're making tick bites annoying like mosquito bites are so that the tick is there before it's really engorged itself enough to pass the disease on to you?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man. So you're making the tick bite more hell on your body to stop yourself from getting extra hell later on down the road.
Yes.
Fascinating. Okay, I have a problem with this, though.
Okay.
It's something that scares me a little bit.
Oh, gosh.
What's to say that they wouldn't, if they can already very quickly adapt the proteins that are being injected into you?
Yeah.
How do we know the ticks wouldn't just adapt very quickly to not trigger that reaction?
I mean, we don't. Yeah.
Worth trying anyway, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. Another tick-based vaccine would be to attack the cement that some ticks, not all ticks, will kind of produce this cement-like substance around their mouth to make it so that they don't fall out of your skin.
We completely glossed over that fact.
Oh,
earlier.
I know.
Okay, what? I did not know this. And that makes everything worse.
It does. So not only is their spit like just ridiculous and tricky, but they also produce cement, some of them. And if we can make a vaccine that will break down that cement, then the tick's just gonna fall off. So kind of cool.
Okay, that's cute. Well, will they fall off though?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, or at least be brushed off. Like you would be able to like brush it off easier.
Okay, because they wouldn't be like completely latched on.
Correct.
So that's why they are so sticky. It's the cement that they produce that's latched their mouth parts into your skin. Yeah. Okay.
Their mouth parts also have backwards facing barbs, so.
But we think a tick cement vaccine would be adequate enough potentially to help them just get brushed off anyway.
I mean, it would be better than I mean, I would take a tick without cement than a tick with cement any day.
Oh, yeah. I would get either of those vaccines in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If it was available and approved.
Yes.
In fact, I would be in a test trial. Like,
I
sure,
would too.
Shoot me up. What's the worst that happens?
But yeah, so it's interesting. And these are just kind of like thought experiments at this time. We have not figured out how to make tick-based vaccines.
You keep saying tick-based as if they're like pulverizing ticks in a pulp and injecting like a tick-based vaccine.
I'm sorry. I meant like vaccines targeted towards the tick versus targeted towards the diseases they carry.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really fascinating. And hopefully we'll figure it out sooner rather than later.
I never would have had the audacity to suggest that you could vaccinate yourself against the presence of a tick mouth in your body.
Oh, no. Never in a million years would I think that would be
That's
possible.
really cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate the creative thinking.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, because as we learn more about what is in their saliva, we're learning more about how to combat it and how it reacts to different things. So it is a thought experiment, but it's not a super crazy, outlandish one.
Right.
So,
and I guess in this instance, like the idea of vaccination, like you're preparing your body to fight something off ahead of time, makes way more sense than anything retroactive. Because, I mean, the tick itself is going to be gone. And at that point, you're just left with whatever disease they put in you. And why not just treat the disease at that point?
Yeah, for sure.
We've been trying to do and have already been doing. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I have a question for you.
Oh, no.
Whenever you get bit by a tick, does that bite itch?
Not while the tick is there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do notice it. Like, sometimes it does itch.
Yeah. Or it's like almost like kind of subconscious. You like reach the back of your knee and then there's a tick there.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. But usually it doesn't. Like, I've definitely just like brushed my fingers through my hair and thought I felt a scab, and then it turned out to be a tick.
Yeah.
That was like attached.
Yeah.
Wow, this scab is loose on one side. Oh no, wait.
Oh, no. Yeah. So, yeah, and it's normal to not notice they are there. That's what all their fancy spit is for. But there are some recent studies showing that animals and people can start to, if you are exposed to enough ticks, you can start to actually be able to notice them, and the bites will be itchy, and your immune response is good enough that you're able to notice that they're there and pull them out. And I think that's really cool. Like, my tick bites are itchy.
Yeah.
Like, especially after I remove them, but like my body does not like ticks. Like, my tick bites last for weeks after I pull them off. Like, my immune response is very active against ticks to the point of being annoying. But also it's kind of useful. And I guarantee you it's because I've literally had thousands of ticks on me.
Now that you bring that up,
yeah,
all of the instances that I'm thinking of where I didn't notice the tick were like from years ago. Like, years ago.
Yeah.
They more recently are very noticeable and very itchy, and I get big bruises from my tick bites.
Yeah.
My body hates ticks now.
Yeah. So your body is learning and changing and growing.
Yeah. I'm also much better at putting on bug spray now than I used to be, though. And maybe that's part of it. Like, it became so exposed that, like, I became kind of blasé. I don't know if it's like a thing that field biologists just go through, or they have like a phase where they're like, yeah, I'm good enough material to be a field biologist.
Yeah.
I'm not even afraid of ticks. Like, I'll just pick them off. Whatever. Everybody gets ticks. I don't know if everybody has a phase like that, but I totally did.
Yeah.
And you just kind of become numb to it. But obviously I learned that lesson. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Is the moral of the story. And put on bug spray.
Yes. Put on bug spray and check your crevices when you get back home.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought it was really cool that, like, this is not just like this is a scientific thing. Like, it's not just like, oh, I feel like tick bites bother me more. Like, it's actually possible to build up resistances to tick bites.
Yeah. So. Well, it's a resistance in the same sense that a vaccine would be, in the sense that, like, you're overcoming its defenses.
Yes, yeah. You can still get sick, but you at least are, overcoming the spit part of it.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Super cool.
It's been a minute since I've had a tick, like, really latch onto me.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. There's also a few animals that specifically were listed out to have natural resistances against tick-borne diseases. And I don't know if that's just because they notice them or if it's because they actually are resistant to the disease themselves. But I found one paper that listed out guinea pigs, rabbits, and some breeds of cattle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. And it's not like it's all cows. Like, it's specific breeds of cattle, which is fascinating to me.
Do you know which ones? Not that I know anything about cattle breeds. Like, there's a few that I would be like, oh, yeah, okay, Longhorns, sure.
I think it's some of the more ancient lineages
Okay.
From Africa.
Cool,
So,
cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating. I love it when I learn new things from you, Nicole.
Aww.
It makes me smile. Day
I'm so glad.
made.
Oh. Even when it's gross tick stuff.
Yeah.
So glad. There's also some really cool research looking at some of the pain blocking and blood thinning properties in tick saliva and using that in human medicine. So
Yeah.
ticks have a lot to teach us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. It's surprising to me that it hasn't been looked into more. Although, how recent were those studies identifying all those proteins? 2007, you said?
Well, there was the one in 2007 mentioned that we only know about 5%, but I found a lot of more recent ones, like 2008 to 2021, honestly, that we're talking more about some of these more modern medicine uses.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll be honest, I don't understand how human bodies work. So I didn't look really closely at this part of the research.
Sure.
And also, I'm not a doctor and I don't want people to like come at me if I tell them something wrong. So, but yeah, it's really cool. Definitely worth looking into. Another problem that I came upon was that some of the more recent articles, because the different enzymes and the proteins are so complex, and because we are just now learning about them, a lot of the papers are not written in any kind of an accessible fashion.
Oh, dude. Okay. Yeah.
Like, they're really hard to read. And I mean, that comes from somebody that reads scientific articles for fun. So yeah, like they were dense, like real dense.
Were they more like organic chemistry?
Yes,
type
and
papers?
using a lot of like acronyms that I didn't know what it was, and like listing out the specific proteins and like
markers and
it was rough.
Gross.
It was still interesting, the parts that I understood, but it's hard to get through.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, thanks for trying.
You're so welcome.
For our sake.
One day maybe I'll understand OChem, but my D in college was hard-earned.
It's okay, we're not an organic chem podcast, and there are people out there who do plenty of disease work so that we don't have to.
Yes, exactly.
That's not for us. Wait, okay, hang on. I have a question.
Yes.
Did you come across anything suggesting that chronic wasting disease is spread by ticks?
I did not see anything about that.
I mean,
but I was looking specifically at like viruses and bacteria.
Yeah.
So,
can prions be spread by ticks? Can mad cow disease be spread by ticks?
I'm gonna guess not, because they are drinking from like a really shallow pool of blood right by the surface. It's not like they're getting into the body, and they're not like getting into like the nervous system and like
the tissues.
The tissues. So I'm gonna guess no.
Okay, cool.
But I don't know for sure.
I've never heard of it happening.
Yeah.
But it just like occurred to me, if is that a thing that I need to add to my list of things to worry about all the time?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah. Prions are scary.
Yeah, they're terrifying. We'll just put a pin in that thought, but assume for the time being that because nobody has told us to be concerned about it, that we probably don't need to be concerned about it at this point in time.
Yeah. Let's hope. But yeah, so I wanted to, that's kind of the bulk of the information that I found. I wanted to do like a really rapid fire Q&A of just like stuff that I hear all the time. If there's questions that you can think of that you hear all the time, throw them at me. But best way to remove a tick, go.
Tweezers. At the bottom of the tick.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Lift using your back with a sharp twisting motion.
Don't twist.
No, yeah, just lift it straight up.
Yeah, straight out.
Legs.
It's important. With your legs, sure. Yeah, grab as close to the skin as possible. Pull it straight out. No twisting, no squeezing the body, no burning, no
Vaseline.
Vaseline, yeah, none of that stuff. Tweezers as close to the skin as possible. Pull straight out.
Yank that sucker out.
Yeah. Don't. It does not need to be fancy. Please don't make them throw up into you and get yourself sick. Best way to avoid ticks.
Stay inside.
No. I mean, yeah,
but... you mean most effective way to go outdoors and avoid ticks. Okay.
Yes.
Permethrin.
Yeah. Prevention.
Is that the right word? Sorry.
Permethrin.
Is the rat mucus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Permethrin is the chemical.
There you go. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And it is, it's eco-friendly. You don't have to worry about it, like, getting off your clothes and stuff like that. So that's nice. And it doesn't look sexy, but tuck those pants into your socks or into your boots. Wear a belt. I know some people that if you wear long sleeves is super useful, but I also know people that have, like, rubber bands and, like stuff on their sleeves to, like, cinch it. Yeah. Because if you create all these cinch points on your body, then your ticks are going to be at those cinch points. So it makes them really easy to find.
That's why.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it was just, like, a useless attempt to keep them out of your clothes, which does not make any sense.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it will keep them out, kind of, but they'll just find somewhere else to get in.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's creating those choke points. And that's why you always find them, like, around your waist, or, like, if you're someone with boobs and you wear bras, they're going to be underneath your bra. Yeah. Because they find a nice little, like, tight spot, and then they just hunker down and start feeding there. So.
Jerks.
Yeah. Do ticks burrow inside of you?
No.
Do they fall out of trees?
No.
Will they hunt you out across a prairie?
Yes.
Kind of, yeah. Usually at the stumble.
They'll come closer to you.
Yeah. They will. What do you do after a bite?
Cry.
Sure, but also monitor the bite spot and monitor yourself for symptoms.
Yeah, that one. That's the one. Try not to itch it.
Yeah. Every time you itch it, it's just going to make it worse. Yeah. Yeah. So,
should you shave your legs?
That is a hot topic of debate.
I have personally run a very scientific experiment on this front and came to the conclusion that if you're wearing shorts, hairy legs is going to get you more ticks.
But what if the hairs help you feel them crawling around?
See, I also have that feeling, and I feel like if I'm wearing pants, I'd rather have hairy legs so that I can feel them crawling up in there, more likely. But I also feel like if I'm able to wear shorts, then I don't want to have hairy legs. I want my legs to be smooth, and then I don't pick up any ticks. Yeah.
I appreciate your scientific input.
Thank you. I will say that at one point, trying to collect a tick for a photo shoot, 2 people wearing shorts that had shaved legs walking through tall grass failed to pick up a single tick to use in the photo shoot. And then a person wearing shorts with hairy legs walked through and we got one immediately. So same area and everything. It's very scientific. Take that for what you will.
Yes.
But yeah, I do like being able to feel them under my clothes.
Yeah. And ideally, you should be wearing pants and long sleeve shirts if you're going to be in an area where you know there are ticks.
Yeah.
It helps, well, because if they get on your clothes, you can just pick them off.
If they're on my leg, I can pick them off too. See, this is maybe another hot topic of debate because I feel like I have an easier time seeing ticks crawling up my leg versus seeing a tick on all the wrinkles of my pant leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can. Oh, my best tick defense so far to date, like, oh my gosh, it's almost magical. Zip off pants.
What?
because I always tucked them into my boots, and whenever ticks would get on my boots or my pants, they go up because they naturally just want to go up, and they would get caught underneath like the little zipper flap.
Oh, because there's a flap that goes over your zipper, like on your thigh, and then they all get caught there. Yeah. What a bunch of idiots.
It was amazing. Every time I would lift up that flap, there would be like 20 ticks underneath it.
Oh, that's disturbing,
yeah.
Nicole.
But they would just be sitting there, and they wouldn't be attached to me, obviously, because they're on the outside of my pants.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Maybe this settles the debate forever. Get zip-off pants. That's the answer.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Don't let anyone tell you they're not sexy, because they're amazing and functional.
Yeah. Do what you want with the hair on your legs, but just buy zip-off pants.
Yes. But don't zip them off until you check for ticks underneath the little flappy flap.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Man, imagine if, like, I don't know, the corporate outdoors world marketed those things differently.
Yes.
Like tick traps. Interesting. If you're my friend's dad who works for Cabela's, hi, you can take this idea, but just don't make any of the merchandise pink. Thank you.
You can pay us for the idea. It's our idea. Trademarked and everything. Totally. But yeah, that's all I had. Well, okay. I had a really fun quote by a tick biologist.
Oh, no.
That I wanted to share. This was it was an interview with Lorenza Beatty, curator of the U.S. National Tick Collection, which is housed at the Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History, which is pretty amazing. They have like 96% of the world's ticks in this museum collection.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane. But yeah, so they were asked, among the approximately 900 tick species found in the national collection, do you have a favorite? And Lorenza responded, no, because of the enormous variety of survival strategies developed in ticks, each is a fantastic story in itself.
I appreciate that so much. Talk about loving the underdogs.
I know, it's so good.
Oh, I just got like happy goosebumps.
I know.
And we're talking about ticks. But even with an animal that you might personally not like, it's so heartwarming to see other people appreciate them and like them, because somebody has to. Like, they have to be. Like, if nobody else did, I would suck it up and I would love them to death. You know what I mean? Like, because somebody has to do that. It's important that somebody loves everything.
Yes.
And I'm glad that ticks have people out there that just love them that much.
Yes. It's so good. But yeah, that's ticks in a nutshell. Don't come at me if you get sick because you took my advice. But don't let ticks stop you from enjoying the outdoors, because 99% of the time, as long as you're doing tick checks and you're doing preventative measures like tucking your pants inside of your socks and just looking so fly, you should not have a problem. So get out there and take a hike.
Thanks for listening, you guys. The Best Biome is produced through a nonprofit, Grassland Groupies, which is dedicated to inspiring conservation of grasslands. And I guess the ticks that live in them, sure. In the show notes, you can find our website, phone number, social media accounts. So text, call, or tweet your suggestions, your fan mail, or your hate mail. If you enjoyed the show and want to support us, tell your friends about us and leave a review on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts. We couldn't do this without your support. And I guess that's all we've got for you. So we'll see you guys again in a couple weeks. Peace.
Beautiful. I'm crying.
Don't cry about ticks.
It's just so beautiful.
But remember, the only prevention is abstinence. Stay inside.